I really don't.
Well, this is a big high they're coming over because you're a player and you had that mentality.
Do you believe that when it comes to divisional games, you throw all of the logical sense out the window?
No, I don't believe in trap games because I think that when you play the game long enough, you understand that every opponent is worthy because there's only 1,696 players in the NFL, and you can't take any team for granted.
And welcome back to the Lehocky Postgame show. The Eagles win 24-7 tonight. And first of all, I got to say, these game balls, just go to that way. I want to see somebody get one of these game balls, a signed game ball. All you have to do is go to flywithcolony.com, and these are provided by Colony Pools Incorporated. So let's summarize this whole thing. Very impressive, dominant win. The fans had to love it down there. Quarterback played the best game ever. I'm on board now. The Eagles are 2-0 for the first time since 2016, and the quarterback then, D-Gun, was?
A rookie named Carson Wentz.
And they play him next week. How about that segue into that?
You know, I'm looking at the chat conversation, and everybody's talking about how they're going to smoke Washington. I don't see it that way. This team's coming off a short week, okay? Washington has one more day of rest. When Carson is on, he can still sling it. I don't care how people feel about Carson in this region. When he's on, he can sling it. He's got some pass catchers. He got a rookie named Jahan Dotson that can flat out go get it. He has Terry McLaurin, a new wealthy Terry McLaurin, who's always given the Eagles problem. He has Curtis Samuel down there. They have a running back named Antonio Gibson down there who can flat out run the football. Every week writes a new story. There's no given. When you look at the parity across the league through the first 2 weeks of the season, and as we talked about time and time again, look at how these games ended yesterday. You can count nothing as automatic in this league right now. The NFL has exactly what it wants, parity across the league. They have had some great games in the first 2 weeks of the season. You look at some of the matchups coming up this upcoming weekend, they're going to be great games also. When we get closer to the end of the week, I can tell you right now I'm going to pick the Eagles to beat Washington, but I'm not going to say it's going to be a cakewalk because it's a division game and because what I've seen the first 2 weeks tells me if I was a betting man, I wouldn't touch any game in the NFL right now.
Well, listen, I'm kind of looking statistically at what Carson has done through the first 2 weeks of the season right now. Against the Jaguars, the first week they won.
Right.
He had a pretty good outing. He's thrown over 300 yards the last 2 games, but he's got 7 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. I don't like that ratio. They've got Gibson, but they seem to be more of a passing team. Yep. They're putting the ball in Carson's hands and asking Carson to win games. And I think that like every other quarterback, if you can pressure him, if you can get to him, if you can make him nervous, then he'll throw you the ball. I mean, three interceptions through 3 games, that speaks volumes. So. I think they're going to be playing against one of the better defensive fronts that they'll face all year long.
Yes.
So I think the defense really has to step up in a big way and figure out how to put the clamps on Carson. They're legitimately not trying to run the ball down there. Okay, they made this trade. They're trying to find out if Carson is the guy, so that they don't have to go and draft a guy.
Yep.
So with him throwing the ball 35 to 40 times a game. That just presents more opportunities
it's
for him to
definitely
make mistakes.
a trap game for me. I mean, they're coming off a tremendous high winning this game on Monday Night Football, and they go down there against an inferior team, and everybody knows. I think the Eagles will be favored by like 3 in this game. I think it'll be a 3-point game down there. So a little bit of a trap, but I think the better.
I don't believe in trap games. I really don't.
Well, this is a big high they're coming over because you're a player and you had that mentality.
Do you believe that when it comes to divisional games, you throw all of the logical sense out the window?
No, I don't believe in trap games because I think that when you play the game long enough, you understand that every opponent is worthy because there's only 1,696 players in the NFL, and you can't take any team for granted. With that fewer teams in the league, with that few players in the league, I should say, you got to realize that every team has elite athletes. Now, what coaching staffs and organization does with their talent, that's one thing, you know. And some teams, some organizations and coaching staffs are better at it than others. But if their true aspirations are to make the playoffs and to win the division, this is a division game. You can't fall asleep at the wheel now just because you're 2-0. You beat a team that you were supposed to beat just barely last week. You beat a team that nobody thought you could beat this week, and you beat them pretty handily. Now's the time to say, okay, now we should really be hitting our stride. Now we should take it to another level. Can we get to Carson? If I'm a defensive player playing against Carson Wentz, I'm licking my chops right now. I want some of that. So I don't believe in trap games. Trap games only happen, you know, because guys aren't mentally prepared.
But that happens all the time.
Well,
where teams kiss themselves.
Yeah, Detroit sacked them 5 times now. So, you know, if I'm Jonathan Gannon and the Eagles defensive personnel, I'm looking closely at what Detroit did to get to Carson Wentz.
They did the same thing that they did to Jalen Hurts last week. They ramped up the pressure and they forced him to make decisions. You understand what I'm saying? They forced him to make decisions under duress. That's what you have to do with quarterbacks who have a propensity or a proclivity. Proclivity.
Big
I like
words coming
that.
out again.
Proclivity.
You just expanded my vocabulary, my friend.
Are you going to use that in everyday conversation now?
You're absolutely right.
But now
I'm always looking for those types of words.
I can't wait till I get home.
Add, but I digress.
Yeah. Well, speaking of getting home.
If those
Speaking of getting home.
Listen,
Seth's going to talk for another half hour.
Those quarterbacks who have a proclivity to mess it up under pressure, you got to keep putting them under pressure.
I know.
What does proclivity
right,
mean?
man.
What does it mean?
You're absolutely right.
Hey, what does proclivity mean, by the way?
Proclivity means you have a tendency to do a certain thing.
I'm going to use that word. First thing I do when I walk in the door tomorrow when I get home, my wife asks me, how was it? I'm like, well, proclivity-wise.
So by the time you get home, it'll be 4 a.m. I don't think you're saying.
No, I'm not driving home tonight, brother. I'm going to tell you that right now.
All right, listen, we're going to wrap this thing up. We've been here long enough. It's late. Thanks for hanging with us, everybody.
Proclivity.
The Eagles postgame show is sponsored by Pond Lehocky. I'm Mike Missinelli. It's Derek Gunn. That's Seth Joyner. That's Devin Caney. We'll be back next week to talk about the Washington Commanders. Can the Eagles go 3-0? We'll see. Have a great rest of the night, everybody. We'll talk to you.